Welcome to Build Your Best Business. I'm your host, Eric Holtzclaw, coming to you from the Charleston Entrepreneur Center. Build Your Best Business focuses on the entrepreneurial journey. What does it take to successfully start, manage, and eventually exit a business? I'm talking today with Will Bragunier, which there's a couple ways you could say that, from JYVE. He is the CMO. Yes?
Yep.
Yeah. So thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
So tell me a little bit about JYVE.
So JYVE is a local music booking platform that streamlines the booking process between local musicians and local venues, and then fans of live music can see who's playing where. Okay.
All right. Yeah, that's because I could see that working well in Charleston, also maybe Nashville, some other places where you have a bunch of places that people can go play and you don't know exactly who's there. So how did you come up with that idea?
I did not come up with that.
Okay.
I did not come up with the idea.
Right,
no. Brandon Brooks, the CEO, he came up with the idea, and I met him in college.
Okay.
And we met in the business planning course. And so he started it in the ICAT program, which is the College Charleston Incubator.
Okay.
And it was kind of like a class project, and we went and we got an A and won the class. So
that means you should definitely turn it into a business.
So we tried, and we were sitting, he graduated a semester before me, and we were sitting at lunch one day, had no developers. Everybody on the team quit. It was just me and him. And we're like, well, we graduated. Are we going to get quote unquote real jobs, or what are we going to do? And we were pretty close to quitting, and probably about 2 weeks away, because we had no development. The product wasn't going anywhere. We kept going to all these, local, I guess you could call them angel investors, being like, hey, will you pay for, us to get this product developed? And oddly enough, we decided to post a Craigslist article. And it got posted in the Charleston Tech Slack, and that is how we met our two developers.
Oh, wow.
And so June of 2016, we started rewriting the code and launched in February of this year.
Okay, so it moved over from Craigslist to where?
To Charleston Tech Slack.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, Slack. Okay. Okay. Yeah, we're big believers in Slack. I thought you said something else. So yeah. Okay. Very cool. And so they reached out to you and said they were interested in the idea.
They were interested. We met with them. We're all musicians, so it fit really well. And we brought them on board.
Yeah, I was curious about what interested them in the idea, like why but they had a background in. And so you guys have your musicians also?
We're all musicians.
Okay.
Yep.
What do you play?
I play guitar, bass, and sing.
Got it. All right. So so as you guys were thinking about the class project or putting this together, or some of the challenges, and you said you had to rewrite it. So you had started off with a code base, and then it just wasn't working, or what was the? Yeah,
we started out with a code base, and how the ICAT program works is it connects a business student with an art student and a computer science student.
Got it.
So you do create some type of product. I'm not knocking the old developer at all. Is all I'm saying.
Just a proof of concept.
Yeah, it was proof of concept, but it wasn't built. Stack wasn't built horizontally, so it wasn't very scalable. So that's why we completely rewrote the entire code.
Okay. And so you found the developers, but you still had to eat and stuff, right?
Yep.
So how did you do that?
So I'm still a bartender.
Okay.
Still a server. Still a manager. At a bar in Charleston, and Brandon, freelance drummer, so he plays around town for money, and then we kind of just all do odd gigs to get by right now.
So do you consider those things your side hustle, or do you consider JYVE your side hustle?
Oh no, those things are my side hustle.
Side hustle.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you're spending most of your main part of your day on JYVE, and those are just the things that help pay the bills.
About 40 hours on JYVE, about 30 hours
on
the restaurant. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So June is when you started the code. So we're sort of sitting here about 8 months after that.
Yep.
So tell me.
Well, June of 2016.
Oh, okay. So you've been at,
So February 2017, we launched.
Got it. Okay.
So we're almost on 1 year.
Okay. All right. So what have you guys learned along the way?
It is always harder than you think. It doesn't come as easily as you think it's going to.
Yeah.
We thought that we would have owned the Charleston market by now, and we're probably at about 10% right now, a whole year later.
Right.
And it's just really like the whole adoption phase is convincing people to change their behavior. It's pretty challenging.
Yeah. Well, what is the current behavior?
The current behavior is pen and paper.
Okay.
Or you hire a booking agent, which is very expensive. Pen and paper way, I was the booking agent for a bar downtown, and I had to provide music for 3 nights a week. And I was spending 3 to 4 hours a week just emailing, calling people, texting people, just trying to get musicians through the door, and it sucked.
Yeah.
It's awful. It just takes way too much time.
Okay, so I know nothing about this, right? Like I live in an area where we have live music at night, and it's one of the compelling things. Like we'll decide, oh, we're going to go out, and we might get there a little later because we know they're going to have live music starting at 7, and so it is something that's an attraction or a draw. But how does the process work? So how do those people end up in the restaurant that night or whatever?
So how do the bands end up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. How does that relationship get established? And
so it's very cliquey. It's all about knowing the right person.
Okay.
And that's just how, I don't know if it's just Charleston in general, but I mean, I'm used to tour and stuff like that. And if you're trying to get into, Philadelphia, you better know somebody, because no one's going to answer your random email. Like, who are you?
Right.
Right. So it's getting in front of the manager, creating a relationship with them, and then you just go back texting, like back and forth, Facebook, phone calls, everything like that. You're juggling all these communication tools. And then you're juggling like all these music hosting sites. So, then you got to go through Bandcamp, SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube, all that. And it's just all jumbled. You get a lot of problems with double booking, where you tell one band and you forgot that you told the other band to show up on the same night. They both show up, only one can play.
Oh, wow.
So one person leaves pissed off with an empty pocket, so it's just a very difficult, convoluted process kind of right now.
And so are the restaurants and venues typically paying these musicians to come in, or are the musicians coming in just working for tips, or what's
Nope, they pay them.
They pay them.
Yep.
Okay. And is it harder for the musician to get someone to book them, or is it harder for the venue to find someone to book?
Probably pretty equal.
Okay.
It's pretty hard to get established into the music scene, but then once you create a reputation, I mean, it's pretty easy to get booked.
Okay.
But it also is very hard to manage booking. If you book 3 nights a week, that's 15 different musicians that you need to come, almost about in a month.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So,
and you're trying to keep some variety, and
you want to keep variety. You don't want the same people playing there every night, because then what's my incentive to go see Will play on Wednesday night when I know he's playing there next Wednesday night, know?
Okay. Oh, okay. So yeah, that exclusivity. And how does a venue know that someone's good? Like, how do you know who to pick?
Right now, it's kind of like word of mouth, or you can listen to one of those multiple communication channels. You can go to Bandcamp, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, juggle around. Most artists aren't on all of those platforms, so you might search on Spotify, and they're not even on Spotify.
Wow.
So these are the things that take up hours in your week.
Yeah. So does JYVE help establish some kind of a profile or something?
Yes. So musicians create profiles, and they enter information such as their instruments, genre, location. They put their music directly in their profiles, and then the venues can search for them based off that criteria.
Okay. So you've got at least a 2-legged stool here, right? You've got the musicians, then you have the venues. Do you also open it up to people to find out where someone's playing? Is that part of the process?
Yes. So that we haven't showed a lot of love to the fan side yet. We're really building out the booking utility right now to make it as streamlined and seamless for the venues and for the musicians as well. But right now we currently have a feed view, and all the feed view does is you can look and see in chronological order who's playing where.
Yeah.
And then you can also see all the artists in the area, and you can see all the venues in the area.
So you started with venues first?
We started with musicians first.
Musicians first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we focused really hard on getting musicians. We did a huge launch party, and we got 200 people signed up that day, and then that's when we started hitting the venues.
Yeah. What did you do? Because that's something that I see people screw up with a lot, is they'll do a big event, right? They're launching their thing, but then they don't really have a way or a call to action to get people to go ahead and do something. So what did you guys do at that event to get people to sign up?
So we hosted a musician party at Bar Mash, which is just a place downtown, and we have a relationship with the manager there. So we hosted this party. We got a band to play. We got a giant projector that was just a slideshow, like pitch deck almost of what our features were and everything like that. And then we basically just told every single musician, hey, get in, you got to download the app. And then we worked out some, I think it was like happy hour all night or something like that, like drink specials, and 200 people showed up and downloaded that day. So it's a place to get started. Yeah.
Anyway, what did you learn? Did you learn anything that evening?
I think that's actually one of our successes. I think we actually did do that one pretty well. We have done some awful events that I'm embarrassed about, but that one was actually pretty good. Brandon and I have a pretty solid like network here in the music scene, so we had a lot of friends come out and support us. Okay. And I think that's something that we learned, is that there was a need for it, because we had a lot of musicians coming up, you know, right out the gate, supporting it. Yeah. So I guess we learned some market validation from that.
When I could see that being helpful to have 200 people on the platform, and then you can go to the venues and say, hey, at least you have a starting point. Yep. Right. Was that the next step?
That was basically the next step. So we kind of, I guess we learned from that as well, is to launch into a new market, we probably need about 200 musicians to at least be able to talk to a venue. Okay.
Because then I could see, you know, it's interesting to me that you had the musicians first, because I, not knowing enough about the space, might have thought of the venues first. You know, like, hey, venue, you know, tell people that if they want to come play, that they need to go through this app, right? Like that would be the gatekeeper for me, because that way I can register it and I know who's coming and that kind of thing. But then it's the chicken and egg, right? So if there are no musicians, then the platform doesn't help me at all.
Exactly. Yeah. And the thing is that the bar pays us. And one of our selling points is variety. So if we don't have those 200 musicians on there, then there's that takes away our whole variety value.
Yeah. So you're serving as the aggregator between with the venue paying the musician.
Yeah. So we don't do payment processing yet, but we eventually want to do that. But all we essentially are is the bridge between the two.
Got it. Okay. Very nice. Very nice. All right. Well, we're going to go to commercial break, and when I get back, I want to talk a little bit about sort of things you guys are working on now, what your growth plans look like, how you might be entering those other markets, those kind of things, where the name came from. Okay. Because all I think of is JYVE talking from a movie that's way older than you would know. Or Isaac. Isaac doesn't know any pop culture references. So I'm talking to Will Bragunier. Whatever. Yeah.
Close enough.
He's the CMO with JYVE. You're listening to Build Your Best Business. I'm your host, Eric Holtzclaw. We'll be back after this break.
So tell me how you came up with the name Laddering Works.
So it's tied into several things. It has several meanings. So Laddering is the name of the book that I had that came out in 2013, and I'm working on 2 more books in that series. So the first book was about how to find customers and how to create marketing messages. I'm working on one around building teams, and then also being a good leader. So how do you run your business effectively, those kind of things.
Nice.
In that book, I teach you that you need to understand why. And we need to understand why very deeply. So you're asking that question multiple times to understand what your customer wants and how they're buying from you. So with laddering, we're helping you scale up. So we're laddering your company up to the next level by deeply understanding what's not working in the company. So what operational structures are missing? What are you not doing on the marketing side? And so we apply the techniques that I talk about in that book, and we ladder your company up. And the interesting thing about laddering is you think about moving up. Well, we actually have to go deep. We have to look up underneath the covers. We have to understand why the structure is not there before we can take you up to that next level. So it plays off a couple of ways, but it's based on that technique. And we're back. You're listening to Build Your Best Business. We're talking today with Will Bragunier. I'm just going to say it different ways every time because you haven't really given me an official way to say it.
That's more fun. It's more than fun.
It's more fun, right? And he's with a company called JYVE. JYVE connects musicians with venues. A problem I didn't necessarily know existed. I guess I don't know. I thought I thought it was their serendipity. Yep. This person just magically showed up to play while I'm eating dinner. Yeah. I am interested in the name. So how did you guys come up with the name?
I think, I got to remember. I think Brandon was just Googling fun words and JYVE kind of wasn't taken.
Okay.
So it originally was JYVE, but there's a JYVE Records, which was purchased by Sony Records.
Okay.
So we threw a little Y on it, and you know, I think it's kind of like, it's a fun, like kind of like cool, sexy name almost,
Yeah.
you know, and it's
It
like
just reminds me
sleek.
of Jive Talking.
Yeah.
That's it. So the Saturday Night Fever, if we were in our regular studio, Isaac might or might not be able to play that for me. He'd have to find that music, and I don't know that he would. So
I'll look it up when we get back.
when you get back. So talk to me about starting a business like that in Charleston, because we're here in Charleston. You know, it's not a huge city. It's not a small city. It's sort of kind of nice middle of the road. So advantages, disadvantages, what have you seen in building it here?
Huge advantage in starting a company here in Charleston. In the College of Charleston, they have an entrepreneurship department, and that's kind of where I got like the first taste of it. It was very supportive of just any idea that anybody had. It didn't matter if you wanted to create the next best mousetrap, you know, anything, all the professors would support you. That kind of led me into the Harbor. And I'm very thankful and grateful for the Harbor and John and Dee and Alex and everything that they do. I mean, it's a great community here. I think that's one of the biggest advantages is being able to come to a place of like-minded individuals and having the blessing of working in this co-working space with very intelligent, you know, very talented people.
Yeah, and talk more about that. So we're doing these interviews at the Harbor Entrepreneur Center here in Charleston, and there's some people who go and they start businesses and they try to, you hear the classic, you know, in my garage or in my basement, and they kind of hide themselves away. What are some of the advantages you see of getting yourself out of that space and coming to a location like this?
Well, so I am a social butterfly, so I hate working at my house.
Yeah.
I do love being with my dogs, but you know, they can't talk to me.
Right.
So I really enjoy the people here, and it also like pushes you to do better. And it also helps having those people that are struggling like you are, because it's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Right.
And having those people that are going through, you know, the same struggles and having that transparency of, you know, everybody's always like, oh, we're crushing it.
Right.
You know, well, no, you're not always
No, you're
crushing
not
it. If you were
crushing
always crushing it, you would have exited, you know, by now. But being able to talk, you know, like with Andy and Bratton, you know, about just the different things that we're going through, and, you know, them giving advice, seeing if they can help in any way like that. Just everybody supports each other.
Yeah, entrepreneurship, and one of the reasons I started this podcast is because it has this sort of rock star thing to it. And it's a lonely job, and it's, you know, first 3 years, first 1,000 days are terrible. And you work all the time, make no money, you know, have no life. And people see the stuff that goes on like Shark Tank and some other places, and you just don't really get a taste for what it takes.
Yep.
Yeah, what it takes and why it's not necessarily for everyone.
Nope.
Yeah. So in Charleston, College of Charleston, did you go to, were you going through the entrepreneurship program, or were you through somewhere else?
So I got my degree in psychology, and I realized I couldn't deal with other people's problems, so I wasn't going to be a therapist.
But you became an entrepreneur.
And then I randomly started, I know, yeah, exactly. Right?
That's all you do.
Well, that's because I'm a glutton for punishment,
Okay,
you know,
yeah,
so
right.
that's why I did it. So I realized I didn't want to be a therapist. I thought I was going to go get my doctorate, and I was going to be a clinical psychologist.
You're going to be Dr.
Bragunier.
Bragunier. All right.
Bragunier.
Yeah, then you have to go to Bragunier.
Yes, that's what I'd officially go to Bragunier.
Got it.
Gave up on it. So I basically started the minor program and getting a minor in entrepreneurship, and that's what I studied up till when I graduated. And basically kind of got hooked on it. Now I don't think I could work for somebody else.
No, it does ruin you.
Yep.
Yeah. And having a psychology, specifically for the perspective, you're the CMO, so you're responsible for marketing, right? Having that as a background is a great background.
Yep.
Understanding what really drives people. It's not about the message, you know, it's our product and features and things like that. So that is a good basis that a lot of people don't necessarily have on the marketing side. So that's a good thing. So you said, I think earlier in the interview or off air, that your mom's a judge.
Yes.
What did the judge mom think when you said, hey mom, I know I went to school for this, but I've now decided to jive?
Yes. So funny story. I'm the first child in my family out of 3 and my father was one as well, an accountant. They all went in accountants, all are CPAs. And I watched my dad the entire time growing up, just like miserable, like just going to the office, crunching numbers all day. And I was like, I can never do this. So at first they were like, all right, whatever, you know, pay your own bills. They didn't really like, they helped me out a little bit in college, and they were like, nope, you're done. You know, if you want to go back to school, that's fine. But they're like, have fun,
right?
You know, playing this game essentially. Well, I forget when the point was, but I think it was right before we launched our product, and we like seriously sat down and we talked about like the whole vision behind the company and the team and why I actually thought and believed in this product. And I think that's when it turned around, is when we had that conversation. And then that's when they full-fledgedly became supportive.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting thing, because in this space, you will think often that like your friends and family, they should be your greatest supporter. They're going to be the one that's there. And they're often in times the last person.
Yep.
You know, they know you too well. I've heard people say that they worry for you. Mm-hmm. So it's not about that they don't think you can succeed. They just like, they don't want to see you suffer. They don't want to, you know, they're afraid for you.
Yeah.
Right. And it's their own fear that's kind of coming through in that.
Yep.
So, yeah. So future-wise, so you guys are in the middle of launching the product. Mm-hmm. Yes. How many markets are you in now?
So we're currently just in Charleston.
Okay.
We do have musicians signed up in over 118 cities.
Okay.
So.
All right. So you're kind of getting that out as a way to start then attracting some venues and things. Mm-hmm. So what are like near-term, short-term, long-term plans?
Short-term goal is have 30% of the market by the end of March.
Okay. In Charleston.
In Charleston.
Yeah.
That way we will start to create enough traction.
How do you define market? Is it the venues or?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's over 200 bars in Charleston that have live music.
Okay. Okay.
So essentially getting 30% of them paying us.
Got it.
And we already have quite a handful right now that are getting on board. And so short-term goals and vision is sales, sales, sales. We feel like the product is pretty good. Like, it's pretty good to where it needs to be in terms of the booking utility. So now we can full-fledgedly, we've developed a whole sales and marketing plan, and all we're doing is executing it.
And are you doing that based on raising some money, or what's the?
I'd rather get more sales, because then we can dictate a conversation. You know, bootstrap it. If somebody wanted to come and give us a check, that'd be great, because it'd take a little pressure off. Right. But I think our primary focus right now should be trying to get some traction, proving out the concept, and then we have better metrics of saying, if you give us X amount, we'll turn it into Y amount.
Yeah. Okay. And so from a future perspective, you know, measuring success, knowing, you know, what else you're going to do when you're going to start to potentially build out the fan side of it. Mm-hmm. What does that look like for you guys?
I could, if we did this interview on Tuesday, I could give you a better answer to that.
So we're having a planning session. Yeah.
Yeah, because we had we did a financial and sales meeting yesterday, and then on Tuesday we're going to do the product roadmap meeting. So the whole philosophy behind what we develop is what gets us the next dollar.
Right. Yeah.
So what feature is going to, you know, entice the next venue to get on board? What's the next thing that we need to do? And that's how we focus on building it out. So we need to have a little meeting about what features are next.
Right. And so primarily the venue is your primary purchaser.
They're our only purchaser.
Only purchaser. They're the one providing the money for it. Okay. Very cool. Well, very nice. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome to entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
You'll never go back.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to go back after you've done that. But it sounds like you guys have a great product underway, and there's so many cities that rely so heavily on those kind of things. And I can see some other applications of it in other spaces too. So very nice. Well, I've been talking today with Will Bragunier, whatever, I've said it 3 or 4 different ways. If I screw your name up, at least they're going to remember it.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
There you go.
Totally.
Right? He's the CMO of JYVE, which is with a Y, and we'll put all that information in our show notes and things like that. You've been listening to Build Your Best Business. I'm your host, Eric Holtzclaw. Join us every Monday as we bring you another story of an entrepreneur on their own entrepreneurial journey. And until next time, what are you going to do to build your best business?